I'll be taking you on the journey through John's four signposts for the faith journey. John uses the miracles of Jesus to present a roadmap for the faith journey that Christians are on. He calls Jesus' actions signs to avoid the perception that Jesus is a miracle worker. Instead, they point to something important about Jesus. In this, we all must start our faith journey from the first signpost and progress in order to the last. Starting off, we see that the first signpost is for us to be persistent. We come to our first example of this by visiting the wedding at Cana. Jesus, Mary, and the disciples were all invited to attend this celebration. All was going well until Mary realized that the wine ran out. She then went to Jesus, seeking his advice, and asked him,
"Son, we have run out of wine. Can you think of any way to fix this?"
"Why do you come to me for help? My time to serve my purpose has not yet come."
"Please, we need help. Can you make an exception?"
"Fine, I will help you, but just this once."
"Do what he says and you'll get what you require." "Jesus, what do you need in order to help us?"
"I need 6 jars of water filled to the brim." "Good. Now take one of the bowls of water and fill another smaller bowl and take it to the head waiter. He will ensure that my work is done."
"What is this?"
Jesus has requested that you drink from this.
"This is preposterous, but I will do as he says." "How is this possible?"
It must be the work of Jesus.
"Quickly, bring me the groom so I can tell him the good news."
The waiter went to go fetch the groom and brought him back to the head waiter. He then proceeded to tell the groom that there was once again wine to serve the guests. This was Jesus' first of 7 signs. When Mary kept her faith in Jesus, she was adhering to the first signpost, to be persistent. Rather than letting the guests thirst, Mary coaxed Jesus to help them. Continuing our faith journey, we come upon the second sign under the signpost, be persistent. In Cana, there was a royal official who sought Jesus' assistance. He traveled from Judea to Galilee. When he arrived in the company of Jesus, he proceeded to say,
"Jesus, I have come to you for help. My child is severely sick and in need of healing.
"Must I perform wonders for you to believe in me?"
I cannot bear losing my child at such a young age."
"Your boy will be fine. Now go home to him."
After Jesus said this, the lieutenant traveled home to see if what Jesus promised had come to pass.
Sir, your son has been healed. His fever broke yesterday at 1 p.m. while you were in Galilee.
Jesus said this would happen. I am a true believer in him and his mission."
From then on out, the royal official and his household were now all believers in Jesus. We see the signpost of persistence in this story when the royal official persists and pleads with Jesus to cure his dying child. Now we go on with the second signpost, which suggests to be persistent but let God do his part. This is the only sign Jesus performed under this signpost. While Jesus was in Jerusalem, he saw a crowd of people, and Jesus knew that one man had been paralyzed for 38 years and wished to get better, but he could never reach the healing pool. Knowing this, Jesus said,
"Do you want to be healed?"
Of course I do, but how can I when I never have anyone who will take me there or will help me with my condition? And there's always everybody at the healing pool, so I cannot get there.
"Pick up your mat and walk."
The paralyzed man picked up his mat and was immediately cured. Because it was the Sabbath, the people exclaimed to the paralyzed man that he was not allowed to carry his mat. When he heard this, he said, "It was the man who cured me who told me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" The crowd was curious and asked who this man was. The man did not know who it was, but when Jesus returned later to the temple to find him and remind him that he was cured and should give up his sins to God, the man later went to the Jews and told him it was Jesus who cured him. In this story, the paralyzed man demonstrates the signpost, persist but let God do his part. He does this by showing that for the past 38 years, he has tried to cure himself but could never seem to get around to it. When Jesus intervenes, the man allows him to cure him. This comes to say that the man tolerated the actions Jesus was doing to help him. Resuming with our theme of impossible becoming possible with God, we come to the story of the feeding of the multitude. As Jesus is preaching to a large crowd of people, word reached him that people were complaining of severe hunger. The disciples knew they had to feed the people somehow, so they said to Jesus,
How are we going to feed all of these people? We don't have enough bread and we don't have money to buy anything for them.
I just took stock on what we have on hand, and all we have is a meager supply from a young boy. He gave us 5 barley and 2 fish, but that still won't suffice the entire crowd.
Have faith in me. Go get me what the boy possesses, and I will disperse it amongst the crowd. Good. Now stay here while I go feed them.
Jesus then dispersed the food amongst the people. Even though he originally started with a small amount of food, by the end, every one of the 5,000 individuals in the multitude had more than enough to feed on.
We've come back with 1 basket full of leftovers. There's too much to carry, so we left the other 11 baskets behind.
There's so much extra food, people are gawking and calling you a prophet.
Surely they now believe in you and your mission, now that they've seen what you can do.
In this story, we see how Jesus follows through with the third signpost. He proves that the impossible will become possible with God by turning 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish into a feast for 5,000 people to devour. We continue our faith journey with the next sign, walking on the sea. This story still represents the signpost, the impossible becoming possible with God. It starts out as the disciples crossing a lake to get to Capernaum until the sea became rough and choppy. Jesus shocks his disciples when he is seen walking towards the boat, and he says,
It is I, Jesus. Don't be afraid.
Jesus, come into the boat.
The disciples soon realized that they had come upon the shore of Capernaum. Also, the crowd that was following Jesus in the previous story continued to search for him. This story is yet another example of the impossible becoming possible with God. Walking on water is simply impossible, but with God's assistance, Jesus was able to walk on water. We now see the story of a man who has been blind from birth. The people of the village thought that the man or the parents had committed a terrible sin which resulted in his disability. But the man's weakness was not due to the wrong of his family, but rather God intended for him to be blind so that Jesus could heal him. When Jesus came upon him, he said,
Man, I can help you if you believe in me.
I would like your help, kind sir.
I am Jesus, the light of the world. I will help you in your time of need. Now go wash your face in the pool and you will be able to regain your sight.
I can't believe it. I can see. I must tell my friends.
Isn't that the man who's blind and suffering?
I believe it was. Yes, it is I. I have been healed.
How have you been healed? How is this possible?
A man was walking by and told me to put mud on my face and to wash off in the pool. When I did that, I could see. Who is this man? I do not know.
Here we see our first example of the fourth signpost. All faith is for the glory of God. The people of the village thought that the man had been cursed as a result of some evil doing, but God had planned for the man to be blind so that the people can see God's power and glory. And then when the blind man had faith in Jesus, he was rewarded with his sight. The last of the 7 stories is the raising of Lazarus from the dead. A man named Lazarus was fatally ill, and he lived with his sisters Mary and Martha. Lazarus' sisters realized this and decided to go to Jesus and tell him his friend was sick. But Jesus proceeded to insist that Lazarus' sickness would not end in death and that it was just to show the glory of God through him. Jesus stayed in Bethany for 2 days and said to his disciples that he wanted to return to Judea. They were doubtful and didn't think that he should carry it out. Jesus goes on to explain that Lazarus has been asleep and he will go wake him. But in reality, what Jesus meant was that Lazarus was dead. Jesus went to the house of Mary and Martha, and Martha said,
If you had been here, Lazarus would be alive.
He will rise again.
Yes, on the last day like everybody else.
I am the resurrection and the way of life. If you believe in me, you will never die. Do you believe in me?
Yes, you are the Messiah, Son of God, come to the world from God. Mary, Jesus is here and wants to talk to you.
If you had been here, Lazarus would be alive.
Show me where he is buried.
Let us show you.
Let me into the tomb.
Lord, he has been dead for 4 days. He is going to smell horrible.
If you believe in me, you will see the glory of God. Lord, thank you for hearing me. You have always heard me. Lazarus, come out!
This second sign of the signpost, all faith is for the glory of God, demonstrates that Lazarus was raised from the dead to show the glory of God. All signposts and their corresponding signs show the glory of God. And this completes our faith journey through the four signposts.